Hi, welcome to Jet Radio. I'm Ted Char, your host, and this is a show dedicated to community service as a means of sustainability. And today we're going to talk about community sustainability. And with us is Lance Henning. He is
Afternoon.
Hey, welcome, Lance. And Lance is the executive director of the Greater Des Moines Habitat for Humanity. Did I get that right?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. And Lane Stummy. He is the director of the Habitat Restore. Welcome, Lane.
Good morning, or thanks for having us here.
Yeah, great. So we're looking forward to hearing more about Habitat's work here and their involvement in networking with other affiliates as well. They've done a lot of good work here in Des Moines, and they're part of community sustainability here. Let's begin by defining sustainability. And here at Jet Radio, we define it as everyone doing their part to better the community, because that's what it takes to build in long-term sustainability. And the more people get involved in making a difference in the community, the more sustainable it will be. And for decades now, we've seen patterns of not neighbors helping neighbors, but people expecting the government to pick up the slack. And so that's beginning to turn around with a lot of community organizations like Habitat and others. And we've had several of those guests here on Jet Radio that are involved in Des Moines. A goal of Jet Radio is to promote the work of others, because every organization makes a difference in community sustainability. And so Jet Radio can promote your organization through the interview. That helps more than anything, but we can also put on your promotional videos and let the community know about what your organization is doing to make a difference in the community. So some new stats for this week. Try to include some of those every week. According to Mark Hyman, diabetes doctor who's well known for his diets, about 50% of Americans have diabetes, and that is a more general term that describes a combination of lifestyle factors that can lead to diabetes. And his 10-day detox and blood sugar solution have measurable and significant impacts on blood sugar and lipid profiles. It's a good resource to pick up. So another theme here is helping others helps us. When you get out in the community and start volunteering, makes a difference in your own life. Much of the background material that we base the show on is found in Everyone Needs Sustainability. That's a book that I authored that describes community service as a means of sustainability. It's available on Amazon, and it's a good resource to help you get started in making a difference in the community. So one other program I wanted to highlight that Jet is involved in is a program to help people reverse type 2 diabetes, which is easily reversed through lifestyle changes in diet and exercise. And Neighbors Helping Neighbors can make a huge impact there. And the program is designed to do that. So there'll be further announcements. The website's getting ready to go, and keep you posted on that as and particular emphasis on Habitat's call-in number is 515-244-0077. And Lance and Lane, can you tell us a bit about yourself and your background?
Myself, I grew up in eastern Iowa, graduated from Iowa State, and that I've been serving as the executive director for Greater Des Moines Habitat for Humanity for the past 11 years.
Yeah.
I grew up in northeast Iowa, up in Postville, and actually left the state after graduating from high school. Went to the University of Arizona and graduated with a nonprofit administration degree, and spent a few years working for the Boy Scouts, and have been with Habitat now about 9.
Yeah. How do you like community work?
Oh, it's the career I've always had, and in fact, when I looked at a career change, it was what I wanted to stay in, and so it's always been something I've enjoyed and really see a difference in.
Yeah. How do you add to your experience? What do you think about when you think about that move? In terms of just when you think about expanding your role or adding to what you're already doing, what are some of the things you think about?
Well, I think this last year I had an opportunity to do things with the urban ambassadors, and that was really, I think, an example that I was able to see other things in the community.
There you go.
And not just on the kind of the circle of habitat that I'm in, but also seeing what other people are doing.
Yeah.
And trying to get involved in some of those things also.
Yeah, good deal. Hey, Lance, we were talking a little bit before the show about the evolution of habitat. Can you describe that progression for us?
Here in the greater Des Moines area, that we really were created originally as being able to help a family at a time and be able to do that with housing. And as we looked at what we are doing and trying to have an impact with not only the family, it became apparent that we wanted to be able to have an impact on the neighborhoods as well. And so we've evolved to create the Rock the Block program, working on both community development and homeowner-occupied repairs that matches up and works alongside our home ownership program. And with that then, so when we look back a little over 10 years ago, to go from being able to serve a family at a time, that now we're strategically trying to work and be able to serve neighborhoods and revitalize neighborhoods while at the same time changing lives.
Yeah, and tell us, it's interesting to hear about how you determine how to target and then how you prioritize. Can you explain that?
Certainly, we have been focused on neighborhood revitalization, and so we are looking at neighborhoods where Habitat can help make a difference. And so it makes sense for Habitat's housing and the housing we're created, and where we can match that up with our repair program and provide services that will help the conversation happen between neighborhood residents and help in aspects beyond just the housing. And so we'll focus in a geographical area, a particular neighborhood, be looking where we could be able to do new construction on infill lots, being able to do rehabs of either nuisance properties or bank foreclosed properties and be able to turn those around. And then around that, be able to do repairs on homeowner-occupied properties on there that allow the existing residents to stay there as homeowners and stay part of the fabric of the neighborhood.
Yeah. So do people ever come to you and say, hey, here are the needs in our neighborhood. Can you help out?
Yeah, we certainly talk to different neighborhoods and try to figure out where we can best use Habitat's volunteers and resources to be able to make a difference on there. And so as we look to be able to prioritize where we can put our efforts, we want to be able to think about how we can have the most impact and be able to help affect and lift up change in the neighborhood.
Yeah. Is there one factor that stands out when you're looking at a neighborhood and deciding, are we going to help out in this neighborhood or neighborhood A or neighborhood B, whatever the case may be? Are there what are the factors that help you to determine that selection the most, or is it just kind of case by case?
I think it's a combination of factors. There's not one particular one. There's clearly the opportunity for Habitat for Humanity and our programs to help make a difference. There's a willingness of the neighborhood residents to want to see change happen in their neighborhoods, and we want to be part of the catalyst to help neighbors get out and want to see something new and changing in their neighborhood. And then it's also other folks that we can partner with, whether it is other nonprofits or the city or other organizations that are looking to be able to make a difference in the neighborhood as well. And so taking all those factors together so that we can see about making real change. And so like the neighborhoods that we're working on now, one of the things that we talk about is we're really trying to move those neighborhoods from survival to really thrive, from surviving to thriving, and be able to find ways that it can be a better place to live for the neighborhood residents that are there.
Yeah. How long does that take? So when you go in, you start that conversation with the neighbors in the neighborhood. How long does that take?
It's not a quick process on there. It happens over time, and sometimes it takes some action to kind of build the trust and help the neighborhood residents understand why we're there and what we're about. And so one of the things that we do like to do as we go into a neighborhood, if people are not familiar with Habitat for Humanity, is being able to do a repair with our Rock the Block program and something that once they see some of that type of action, that helps generate other conversations and being able to start build relationships, not only with Habitat for Humanity in the neighborhood, but with other organizations that are in the conversation as well.
Yeah.
And so, just an example, we've been active on the east side of Des Moines, and we've got a great coalition called the Viva East Bank that came together officially last year, but that was really a 3-year process of beginning the conversation, building the trust, doing planning with the neighborhood residents, and then having other organizations join in and really be a part of wanting to move the neighborhood to something thriving.
Yeah. Can you share an example? I mean, I suppose that is a specific example, but could you describe more in terms of an actual example what those conversations looked like? When you went in and you started with a family, is that okay to share one of those examples, or is it?
Yeah, we went. One of the examples would be specifically talking with the neighborhood association, identifying some of the issues that they see as a starting point, understanding that a program with home ownership of Habitat and the repair program of Habitat's Rock the Block program are aspects that they want to see happening in their neighborhood. And then asking them about, okay, if we want to start off to do something visible to help let people know that we're here, where would be a good place to do a Rock the Block repair on there? And so they already know the residents that have a high need. And then when they start thinking about what would be a visible location in the neighborhood that they want to see change in. And so from that conversation, that identified a specific area that we wanted to see if we could do a repair. We found a family to work with and do the repair. And that very first project on there, we did some windows, a storm door, repainted the house. It was really pretty modest on some of the repairs that we did on there, but it was transformational for that one house. And that really opened the door to begin a broader conversation on what are the needs of the neighborhood and how can we think about it together to help make a difference.
No, that makes a lot of sense. People see the difference occurring, and then it builds from there.
Yep.
So good. Lane, can you tell us about the home repair program, or is that better for?
Yeah, I can talk about the Rock the Block program. When we talk about the Restore, Lane's the expert on that. So,
okay.
On there. So the Rock the Block program is focused on neighborhood revitalization, doing homeowner-occupied repair. We also get engaged in community development, that planning aspect, and having conversations with the neighborhood residents. The repair side, we do the types of repairs that allow people to stay in their home, to have a more energy-efficient home, and would lift up the neighborhood. So one of the most common things that we do are replace windows and siding on houses. We'll do a weatherization. So our construction Rock the Block team, they are BPI certified, which is Building Professionals Institute training. They go in, and also on the handicap accessibility. So we might do ramps so people can get in and out of their house. Things that allow them to stay in their house. So this winter in December, as an example, we had a call of a family that their furnace had went out, and at the same time, the mother and the family had passed away. And when our team went over and made the assessment, it was a 100-year-old home. There was some space heaters there in the house, and they had the burners on their stove cranked up, trying to keep the house warm. And then there was frozen water in the sink. So and that was one we were able to respond to quickly because of the urgency on there, and get them a new furnace and get them. And so, it made a difference for the family on them being able to stay in that house.
Yeah.
And so.
Yeah. Now, do you have some pictures for us? Is this a good time, or is a different time more appropriate?
There's a number of photos that are about just show our volunteers and some of the families we work with on there.
Okay.
So.
Are there houses in there?
I think most of them are on the people that we work with, either the volunteer side and the construction. So,
let's take a look at just tell us about this one.
So this is one of our home buyer families that's working in the program right now, being able to complete their homeowners education and sweat equity. So they go through our Blueprint to Homeownership class on there, and then also do 400 hours of sweat equity working on their house and other Habitat for Humanity homes. and then our home buyers purchase the house essentially for the hard cost that's in it. And
Mm-hmm.
because of the community support, Habitat provides a no-profit mortgage. And so the volunteers working with Habitat to build the house and the combination with a no-profit mortgage make it affordable for low-income families that otherwise wouldn't have that opportunity to purchase a home.
Yeah.
So there's a photo of Rock the Block where we're working on this one. We're probably doing a combination on the house of fixing up the exterior, and that we often are looking at ways that we can improve the curb appearance of the house while we're doing the major changes that are going to allow a family to stay in there. A good example of a Rock the Block project that we did recently was with an elderly lady, Virene, that she was senior. Her husband had passed away a number of years ago, and that she was handicapped and couldn't get out of the house without help. People had to actually lift her out of the home. Her bushes had grown up to the rain gutters on the house. Habitat pulled out the bushes, repainted the house, added a ramp, and widened the door so that she can get in and out. And then when she thanked the volunteers at the end of the project on there, she said, now I can get out of the house myself and smell my own flowers on there. So that's just an example of what we're trying to do on the repairs with the Rock the Block.
Yeah. No, that's excellent. Let's hold it. Let's hold off on other slides for now because I want to come back to volunteers later.
All right.
Okay. But yeah, give us some of those eye-popping stats on the home repairs and the resulting energy savings.
Yeah, both with our new construction and our rehabs and the repairs that we do with the homeowner-occupied repairs on the Rock the Block. In all those cases, we are trying to make the homes more energy efficient and have a savings for the residents of the homes on there. And so when you think about the life of the repairs on there, so that if we think those repairs would last for 20 years, and then the houses that we worked on last year, both our home ownership and our repairs, we did 134 total houses last year. And that energy savings to those families living in those houses over 20 years would be a combined more than $750,000.
Yeah, that's outstanding. Yeah, and it was like 118 homes or something like that.
So it was 118 repairs and 28 home ownership, where we either built new or did a major rehab, like on a bank foreclosed property.
Yeah. No, that's good. Tell us about. So you began to describe the process that the people that end up with homes go through, the blueprint to home ownership, and then you've got the one-on-one counseling along with that. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So each of the families that we work with on the home ownership side, that we are trying to prepare them to succeed as homeowners. And a lot of the families we work with never have been in a home ownership situation before. That their parents always rented, they've always rented, and so a lot of the skills that some of us that grew up in home ownership, when I grew up, I just kind of learned them watching my dad and those aspects on there. So helping to teach them the skills to be successful as homeowners. So the Blueprint to Home Ownership classes are done in a group setting. They focus on personal finance and budgeting. The home buyers have to set a budget and follow it and stick through it and really kind of document where they spend their money. And so they learn things along the way on there. So, it's like, I didn't know I spent that much going and getting coffee every morning, or I didn't know how much I spent at going to the fast food restaurant every day on that. And so they come to that realization along the process. They get into then what it means to be a good neighbor. So we have neighborhood experts and residents come and work with them. And then they also learn about home maintenance and home repairs. So, what's a furnace filter, and that I need to change the furnace filter, or things that they learn on that. So that's all in the homeowner's education piece. And then on the counseling, it focuses on that financial aspect and readying them for home ownership and making sure that the family is ready to succeed as a homeowner. So in total, there's usually at least 30 hours of contact between the classes and the one-on-one counseling before someone is ready to purchase a Habitat for Humanity home. And then they do the sweat equity, and so they are working on their house and other Habitat for Humanity homes. And they also are learning skills about how a house is put together and how they can take care of their own house when they see that house put together. And there's also then the whole interaction with the volunteers that are happening. And so just the sense of people coming out to help make a difference and work with the families. And it kind of goes two ways then in the relationship that's built. And I think the home buyer family with Habitat's receiving something from that volunteer experience, and often the volunteers indicate that they're receiving something back, and just that relationship that's happening there.
Oh, absolutely. Hey, quick question before we go to our first break here. So you mentioned the sweat equity also involves them helping other people with their homes.
Yes.
And I mean, is that kind of the norm, or is that every once in a while?
Yeah, actually our process is set up so someone becomes eligible to get matched up to buy a Habitat house once they've completed half their sweat equity. And so they're out working on other Habitat homes, and then when they get to the halfway mark, so 200 hours, then they become eligible to get matched up for the house that they would purchase. And so they are working on other homes, and there's also a relationship that the home buyers build within our classes too, that we will often see when people are selecting the house they would like to purchase. They want to purchase it by someone they know, and often it's the relationship they built in the Habitat Blueprint to Homeowner class that they would like to live by a fellow Habitat buyer.
Okay, so it's part of the process of becoming a Habitat recipient, is that they have to get that sweat equity in beforehand.
Yep. Yeah. Before they can actually purchase their home, they have to complete the sweat equity requirement.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for explaining that. So with us today are representatives from Habitat for Humanity of Greater Des Moines, Lance Henning and Lane Stumey, and we will be back with them after a break and talk more about the Habitat Restore. Thanks for joining us today.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
I'm Brian Leach, owner of Service Legends, and my position is Chief Talent Officer.
I'm Nicholas Wonderscheid.
I am Bernie Homs,
And I'm the Service Manager.
Marketing Director and Client Relations Manager.
Everything that we do is about ensuring that we exceed your expectations.
Our clients are important to us. 100% satisfaction.
We're not just focused on heating and cooling. That's the easiest part of our job, actually, is fixing furnaces and air conditioners.
Everyone that we come in touch with, we want to improve lives.
Bottom line is, we've got our installation guarantees, 25% energy savings guarantee, comfort guarantee, temperature selection guarantee, property protection guarantee.
100% satisfaction guaranteed. Fixed rate or it's free.
All of those guarantees are backed up with a 100% money-back guarantee to hold ourselves accountable to making sure that you get what you're after.
Just fixing the problem today. If they have another problem 5 days down the road, it's still fixed rate or it's free.
We use what's called straightforward pricing. Our technicians are going to give you an exact to-the-penny price on what it's going to take before they move forward with any repair. That way you know what to expect.
It's the same price every day.
No surprises.
If you get off work at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, you come home, you realize that, oh, my furnace is broken. Now you need to call somebody out that night. You shouldn't have to pay more for that.
We're guaranteeing service 24/7.
We run afternoons, evenings, nights, weekends. We're staffed to work that.
Phone rings at 3 in the morning. You'll get one of our representatives answering the phone every time.
We're not sending you out to Timbuktu in some call center. It's our Service Legend team members, our mission control team,
I'll take a call anytime.
and then they answer the phones the same way during the day as they do at night.
It's a great day at your service company. How can we make you smile?
That's the only way to provide true 24-hour service.
When you're able to let somebody actually live in their home safely when they weren't able to do that before, where they don't have to stay up at night and worry about, is the heat going to come back on? Are we going to freeze the pipes? Is the baby in the room next door going to be sick because they got too cold? When you're able to help somebody overcome challenges like that, that's impacting a life. That makes a difference. I get goosebumps thinking about it.
I love the team. I love the people that I work with.
We have fun, but we work hard.
I call them my ambassadors of legendary service. If you could just envision what that is, that's who we're sending to your home.
They literally will call in, pick up the phone and call and say, hey, I want to talk to your manager. And I get on the phone, they're like, that technician that was at my house was the greatest technician ever. That's cool to me.
We want to brighten people's days.
Every person that we have going into the house has gone through an extensive background check.
Drug testing, we have a very thorough interview process that 1 out of 140 people make it through.
If we promise you something, that's what you're going to get, no matter what.
We're here when you need us to protect the safety and comfort of your family.
If you're not happy, we're gonna make it right.
If we're willing to put 100% money-back guarantee on what we do, what type of work do you think we do?
Give us a call. We're there for you 24/7, 365 days a year.
Enough said.
Welcome back to Jet Radio. I'm Ted Shire, your host, and with us today are Lance Henning from Habitat for Humanity of Greater Des Moines and Lane Stummy. He is the director of the Habitat Restore. And we're going to go over to you, Lane. Give us an overview of the Restore, its function and purpose. Take us on tour.
Well, the Restore is a retail outlet that Habitat runs, and we sell all types of building materials, both new and used. A lot of stuff is donated to us, and it could be anything from paint to doors and windows and appliances and bathroom fixtures, just a wide variety. One of the neat things about the store is it really is helping Habitat build more homes here in the Des Moines area. This past year, the store really supported the construction of 13 additional homes.
Yeah, good deal. So tell us a little bit about the poundage that you've recycled.
So the donated materials that we got last year was about 2.4 million pounds of material. And so those were things that were probably ultimately destined for the landfill had it not been for the opportunity to donate them at the Restore.
Yeah.
And then,
and what about the paint?
Well, we do a lot of mist-tint paints. So from the local stores here in town, the gallon's just not quite the right thing. And rather than having to dispose of that type of item, we take those and put them out for sale and get it back into use. But we also bring a line of paint in out of Minnesota called Amazon, and it has a recycled content from the Household Hazardous Waste Recycling Program in Minnesota.
Excellent. And does Iowa have a program like that too? Or
within the metro, we have a hazardous waste recycling center, but there's no paint manufacturer that's using things like the paint, but there is that available out of Bondurant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Tell us about the tool lending library.
Well, so in addition to all the stuff we have for sale, we've got a tool lending library, and yet kind of the first question people ask us is, can we rent something? And what it's set up as is you join it for a year by paying a membership fee. And then over the course of a year, you can check out tools at no cost. So it's like going to the library and checking a book out. As long as you bring it back in good shape, you don't get charged anything for it. And so it could be anything from a lawnmower to a aerator, a rototiller, maybe a jackhammer, tile saws, hand tools, power tools, just a wide variety.
Yeah. What is the membership fee?
The base fee is $200, but we do have a sliding scale based on household size and household income that could go as low as $25 for the year.
Yeah. And do you keep stats on the demographics there?
Oh, good question. I don't remember that off the top of my head.
Just curious about how many underserved.
Well, the majority of our members are coming from some of the same communities that we're serving with home ownership and our repair programs, Rock the Block. And so that's one of our goals, is to have that program really supporting those neighborhoods, because again, it's about helping people stay in their own homes, make their own homes more livable.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah. In terms of the activities of the Restore, where is the majority of the activity? If you could list the top 3 activities of the Restore, or the top 5, what would you say?
I guess it's really about getting those materials in so that we can get customers in that are looking for affordable home improvements.
So do you have to go out and recruit the donors of materials, or are they already aware of it and they come in, or how does that work?
I think we're always marketing to find more, but I think we've got a really good following in Des Moines that is bringing us stuff on a daily basis.
Yeah.
About 10,000 donation events a year.
Now, donation events, what does that mean?
Well, that could be one shiny brass light fixture that somebody took down, or it could be a semi-load of something that came out of a warehouse for some reason that a business no longer wanted. So we can't, it's each time a donation gets made.
Yeah. And you had a story about the shiny fixture.
Well, and so sustainability-wise, some people wonder, do I really have anything I can donate to Habitat that helps them build a house? And just the simple fact that a lot of people change light fixtures, say the shiny brass one over the dining room table, if they donate that as just one donation, over the course of a year, we have enough of those donations to build one more Habitat house. And so it's just a real simple equation that everybody can do one thing.
Yeah, yeah, good deal. So Lance, tell us about, so we're talking about recycling. So tell us about the green construction aspects of Habitat.
So particularly in our new construction on there, that we have worked hard to be able to build environmentally sound houses on there. And so our houses, we build extremely tight. We have high energy efficiency walls on there. And we've reduced the heating load such that we've gone to actually electric heat on the houses to be able to heat the homes on that. One of the ways that we can measure that is through the HERS rating and the HERS system on there. So our houses commonly are in the mid-50s for a HERS rating. And one way to look at the HERS rating on there is the lower the number, the better, and that 100% would be from what code is. And so a 55 rating would be 45% built better than code. So we're commonly in the mid-50s with the Habitat homes. And then we're looking at ways that we can do landscaping that's sustainable around there. We do a passive radon system with each of the houses that we build. All aspects that we want it to be efficient for our homeowners, that they're going to succeed and live there healthy. So when we can think about what we can do to the house, there is a cost effectiveness piece that we look at on there. So, the cost effectiveness of doing solar on all the Habitat houses would put it out of the affordability range, but the cost effectiveness to have a tightly built house that's energy efficiency, with high energy efficiency, makes a lot of sense, and there's a payback to the family over time on the utility savings on there.
Yeah. Tell us about the insulation. How has that worked, or do you seal the home, air seal the home? How does that all?
Yeah, so it's there's 2x6 walls, and then there's a 2-inch blue board that goes on the outside of the wall in addition on there. So essentially, we're getting an R value in the R30 range on there. Typical house construction right now in the metro area is around an R19. On there, and it just recently changed and moved up from an R14 to the R19. So our walls are significantly more energy efficient. One of the advantages of working with volunteers is that we can spend a significant amount of time making the house very tight. So we use a lot of caulk with our volunteers to make sure every type of crevice and hole in the house is tight. So it's one of the reasons that we're able to get a good high or a low HERS rating with the house.
Mm-hmm. No, that's excellent. Can you take a wild guess as to how much of your operation is weatherization? Quick estimate.
For the repair side,
Yeah.
When we do weatherization on existing households on there, that usually we're doing 40 to 50 serious weatherizations each year with existing homeowners. And so that really goes in and doing an analysis of how we can make their house more energy efficient, and it becomes a look at things not only on how tight the house is and increasing the insulation, but also looking at the windows and looking at the furnace and looking at the water heater. Other appliances could be in that consideration as well. And so it's trying to look at all aspects to be able to do the weatherization in there. So,
Yeah.
This year we're going to do at least 135 homeowner occupied repairs, and we would expect that we'll do a real in-depth weatherization at 40 to 50 of those houses.
Interesting. Yeah. So help me understand, is weatherization a subcategory of repair, or is there some sort of boundary when if you're just caulking up some windows, that's weatherization? If you're replacing the window, that is repair, or is there a boundary, or is it a subcategory?
There is kind of the light weatherization. Sometimes people think of weatherization as putting a little caulk and some plastic over the window, and we're really trying to do something that's much more in-depth and long-lasting, that's going to have an impact for that homeowner for the long time. And so that's where our trained folks that come in with Rock the Block and doing the assessment are really trying to see how we can have a significant impact that's going to have savings for that homeowner for the duration of their life in the house.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So some of these homes that you get for repair come from Wells Fargo. And perhaps they at times have donated homes. Isn't that correct? Or
Yeah, so some of our bank foreclosed properties that have been donated to us, they have come from Wells Fargo and Bank of America and other entities in the community that have donated them to Habitat, and then we're able to take those vacant properties and turn them around and make them something that's contributing back to the neighborhood.
Yeah. Now sometimes it works out to repair those properties, and other times you decide not to. How do you figure that out?
Really, our team goes in and does an assessment and starts thinking about it. It becomes really kind of a financial look on there. So sometimes the house is just too far gone, and in that case, then we'll take the existing home out and put a new house in that place on there. If we can, we want to save the house and be able to do that. And so the house still needs to be functional. It needs to be able to make sense on the investment that we're making on the existing house. And we want, when we do a home ownership, if it's a rehab on there, it's important for us that is almost like new, because we don't want our homeowners to come around a year or two later and have to worry about a major repair. And so we're doing significant improvements to that house so that our family can be there for the long run, succeed as homeowners.
Sure. So what are those standards in terms of, okay, for this home to be something that's long term, that we know will be long term and will help this family to be there for several years? What are the factors that go into making that assessment?
Usually it's the structural issues that become the most challenging on there. So when you get foundation walls that are problems or other structural issues, that's when usually the determination is made. It also depends a little bit on the acquisition price of the home. So if it's donated, we have more ability to make an investment in turning a house around on there. So that becomes an important piece of the whole equation on there as well. Usually, if it's structurally sound, we can fix it up and make it a great home on there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great. So it sounds like you've got quite a bit of flexibility there. There's not too. How often does it happen where you have to say to a house, this one's too far gone?
Well, one of the reasons they get donated to Habitat is because no one else wants them sometimes on there. So I don't know the exact ratio on there, but it's probably somewhere, maybe 1 in 6 houses that is donated to us is in a state of repair or disrepair that we probably are better off taking it down than to be able to try to save that house.
Yeah. So just another follow-up question here. So when a company like Wells Fargo or one of the other banks donates a home, do they also have some of their volunteers come over and help out with the project?
Yeah, many of the companies in the Des Moines area, and Wells Fargo has been a great one, that they very much want their employees, their team members to be engaged in the community. And so a big part of our efforts here in the Des Moines area, Wells Fargo has been a part of that with their volunteer teams. So they come out and often are, whether it's a major rehab or we're doing a new construction, or coming out and helping us with volunteer time. And that's a key part of Habitat's whole model, is engaging the volunteer and the community volunteer to be able to change the lives and be able to create opportunities for home ownership and neighborhood revitalization.
Yeah, absolutely. So is the volunteer training process, fairly extensive? Is it just a quick overview? What's the training like?
So most folks actually this year we'll have and need about 12,000 volunteers to serve 160 families. And if you think about that, that's like filling up Hilton Coliseum all in one place on there. The vast majority of our volunteers really have no construction background. And they can go to the site and we'll go through some quick things in the morning and talk about safety, and then start getting them engaged. And I think what most people find, we'll have some expert on site that'll help guide them, whether it is someone that's on staff with us or a volunteer, but there'll be someone there that'll lead the volunteer group on there. And I think most people find that with a little bit of guidance on there, when you break down the process of building something down to the simple aspect of putting on a piece of siding and the steps in doing that most people are surprised how easy it is on there. And I think at the end of the day that a lot of the volunteers walk away and there is this sense of making a difference in a very tangible way with Habitat, that they helped put up a wall, or they helped put up siding, or they installed the windows on there. And I think for me, one of the things that I really enjoy about Habitat is watching a volunteer come out to the house site in the morning, pretty unsure of themselves, that, they don't know the difference between really, just a handsaw and a hacksaw, or a table saw and miter saw, and don't know the difference. And by midday, with a little bit of guidance on there they are running the miter saw, and they're the cut person for the team for the day on there.
Yeah.
And so there's that sense of learning and accomplishment that you see in the volunteers that goes on in the process on there. And so to me, that's one of the exciting things about Habitat.
Yeah, real good. Let's talk more about some of those volunteer stories and get the rest of those volunteer slides up when we come back. But with us today are Lance Henning from Habitat for Humanity of Greater Des Moines, and Lane Stummy, and he is the director of the Restore. And when we come back, we'll talk more about volunteers. Thanks for joining us today.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Credit cards are like grandkids. They love you, sometimes get out of control, and it's fun to get a new one. Who can stop them from piling on?
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of Des Moines. At the end of the day, you can give these grandkids back, but you're stuck paying off bad credit card debt. We can help you put the fun back into using credit cards responsibly. Right, kids?
Yeah! If you need help getting credit cards off your back, call Consumer Credit of Des Moines.
Hey, psst. Let me let you in on a little secret. You ready? Always try to do business with people, not places. Especially if you seek honest Christian business people. And when it comes to my car, I really need to trust who's working on it. Now, my family is so blessed. A few years ago, we found a family-owned automobile repair shop that operates as a Christian business also. Open, honest, reliable, trustworthy. It's AMCO on Hickman Road in front of Kmart, and it's a family-owned Christian operating business. This family treats your car as if it was their car. Everything from oil changes to transmission repair and everything in between. So the next time you feel the need to be at peace with your choice of who you can trust with your car, give AMCO on Hickman a chance to serve you. And tell them Max sent you.
Hi, welcome back to Jet Radio. I'm Ted Shire, your host, and with us today are Lance Henning from Greater Des Moines Habitat for Humanity, and Lane Stummy. He is the director of the Habitat Restore. And when we last talked, we were talking about the volunteer aspect of Habitat for Humanity, and wanted to continue that conversation and show a few slides. Tell us one of your favorite specific volunteer stories.
Specific volunteer story. All right. Well, we have our board of directors is a volunteer group on there. And we asked the board members to get engaged in ways other than just sitting at the board meeting and being a part of that. So some participate on our committees. We have committees in family selection, Habitat Restore has a committee, we got a human resources committee, different committees that help us out. We also asked them to come out and build on the Habitat site. And so we had a board member that came out and brought their team to come work out on the Habitat site. It was a house that we were finishing up and getting towards the end. And so they were installing the hardware, they were doing the door handles on the interior doors, and our board member was installing the door handles. And so they were putting the door handles on the interior doors. Our board member closed the door to see if the door handle was working. And it's at that point, standing inside a closet, that they realized that the mechanism wasn't quite right and the handle didn't work on there. So we had a board member that was stuck in the closet on there. And then we had a construction manager that was able to pull the hinges off the door and get our board member out. And so
did that cause volunteer numbers to go down, or
no? I think use that example, just that anyone is welcome and to come out on the Habitat site, and that everyone can contribute and be a part of that.
So Habitat wasn't scarred for life.
No, that was just a fun story on there.
Yeah.
But I really enjoy watching, like when we do a Rock the Block event. We've got one coming up here at the end of April. In 3 days, we'll be working on 2025 homeowner occupied repairs. We'll have 100+ volunteers out making a difference and making that all happen. There's an excitement and energy that happens around that. And then coming right after that, the week after that, in the first week of May, we're going to blitz build 5 houses in 1 week on the east side on there. They're all in one block. We'll have 125 volunteers a day working on those houses and getting them all up and built in 1 week. And so the excitement and activity that goes on in a kind of an accelerated build project like that, to me, those are some of the most fun and exciting, and people get excited and energized around it. And at the end of a day like that, where folks have just worked extremely hard, and we're standing there and they're thanking us as they go away hot, sweaty, and sore, and they're thanking us for the experience. And that is just an amazing part of, I think, the community and the way people respond to be able to come out and make a difference.
No, absolutely. That's the way it works. So does the momentum from an event like that, from a blitz build, does that carry over into other areas?
Well, we hope so. I mean, we do it a little bit both for the excitement it generates for the volunteers and the sponsors, and also to raise awareness that there is a need for affordable housing. That, when you think about what affordable housing does to stabilize a neighborhood, many of the neighborhoods we work in, the schools in and around the neighborhoods there see a really high turnover rate. It's not uncommon to see 30 or 40% of the kids only staying there a year or less. Many times that has to do with housing issues, that because they are unable to find housing they can afford, that their families are moving from place to place to place. And so when you can get someone into a safe, decent place that they can afford, they'll stay there for the long run. The Habitat families, we've done more than 200 homeownership opportunities since 2003. 97% of the original families remain in their Habitat homes.
That's outstanding.
And when we did a survey last year on there asking the families, do you think you'll be in your Habitat house 5 years from now? 9 of 10 said, yeah, I want to be here, and I expect I'll be here in 5 years.
Yeah, that's outstanding. Let's put up some of those volunteer slides. And just tell us about these.
Well, that's actually working in the Restore. So the Restore volunteers help us ready the donations. So you can see that she was probably helping to clean up some of the furniture products and that are in the Restore, and so getting those ready. Here, this was probably that's a new construction house on there, and so just there's a lot of painting that goes into a new construction. We also do painting on the repair projects when we reside a house. This would be a Habitat homebuyer family, and that they are going to purchase a house later this year, and that they are, again, working hard on their sweat equity, and I think this particular family has already graduated from the blueprint to home ownership. Some of our volunteers out on the Rock the Block, so I think you can see in the background that they were replacing a window and getting the pieces back together on the trim and everything, getting it all back in place.
Mm-hmm.
Another Habitat homebuyer family, so I'm sure that it's going to make a difference when you think about what a home ownership opportunity does for kids and that stability on there, that children are 25% more likely to graduate from high school and 110% more likely to graduate from college when they're in a stable home ownership situation.
Yeah, no, that's great. What was that study?
It was Ohio University. I can't quote the exact professor and researcher that did that study, but it came out of Ohio State.
Okay. No, thanks for sharing that. So, I want to go back to the Restore for a second. The Des Moines Restore is the top Restore in the nation. And Lane, tell us a little bit about why that is.
Well, I think over the years, the community here in Des Moines has just come to recognize the Restore and has been very supportive in the donation side. And it's just a phenomenal story, I think, to show for the support of the Des Moines area.
Yeah. Now, has it been number one for a long time, or did
2 years now?
Okay.
So last year when we found out it wasn't even kind of on the radar.
Yeah.
I knew we were up in the top, 10, 12 stores somewhere there, but it just wasn't even something we were thinking about at the time.
Yeah. Now, is that in terms of material donated or sales or? Sales
and the amount of money that we can support, that we're providing back to support the local organization.
Yeah, and tell us how much that was.
Well, we usually talk about it in houses because that's kind of the business we're in, I guess. So last year it was the equivalent of 13 additional homes.
Yeah. No, that's good. And you also network a bit with other sites. Tell us a little bit about how the different sites cooperate.
Well, especially within the state of Iowa, there's a number of restores, and we really talk a lot amongst each other ourselves. A year ago, we had a sales training and customer service training that a lot of us came together for. And it just helps us know kind of what's going on, what might the next trend be as we talk to other stores across the country also.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, that's good. So I want to get to not only the awards that you've won, but there's also awards that you give. So you give the key awards. Tell us a little bit about that.
On an annual basis, we try to recognize the people that are making a difference with housing in the community. And so both organizations, we usually do one organization each year, and then we do individuals that have made a significant difference for Habitat or made a significant difference in housing in the greater Des Moines community.
Yeah. And tell us about the winners.
So the folks this past year, we had a combination of folks that are able to help us out. The Thurstons have been a big supporter of Habitat for Humanity, both here locally and helping Habitat for Humanity internationally. Mary Lou Nugent was one that was a supporter that has helped us in a number of ways to be able to really grow Habitat's mission and engage the community. And she helped to chair a Women's Build project that we do that this year we're starting our 4th Women's Build, and Mary Lou helped us in the past on there. Tom Urban also was one that was recognized and able to do, and he's done a lot of work when you think about neighborhoods and understanding how to improve neighborhoods, that he's done a big initiative to be able to try to find ways to be able to connect neighborhood residents to the services that are out there.
Yeah. What about the corporate award, Principal?
Principal Financial has been an excellent partner for Habitat for a number of years now, and that their work, both helping us financially and just the number of volunteers that they bring out, have been significant in allowing us to expand our mission and be able to serve families.
Right. Now, you've got a number of major employers here in Des Moines that support Habitat. Tell us a little bit about how you went about attaining partnerships.
Well, really, we are looking for folks that have an interest in making a difference with in housing and in neighborhoods and the aspects of what housing helps to create for a family. And so, often that, what we talk about Habitat being good at on there is providing an opportunity to have a hand up as opposed to a handout, and that their families are purchasing, that they are doing the education and the sweat equity being hands-on in the sense that it's not only hands-on for our families doing sweat equity, it's hands-on for the volunteer experience. And so there's companies and organizations that are interested in that. And then we are trying to lift both neighborhoods and individuals to self-sufficiency. And so one of the ways that we're good at that is asset building. When you think about creating home ownership and helping people to maintain their housing, that is really around asset building and helping people move to self-sufficiency. And so companies and organizations, so it can be a civic group, it could be churches, it could be a large company, small company, that have an interest in participating in a tangible way around those types of aspects, that we're trying to reach out to them and make that connection and find a way that that they can be a part of Habitat for Humanity and
Right.
being able to do that.
Right.
One of the things that is new for us that we started last year too is trying to kind of take Habitat on the road. And we do wall panel builds for the Habitat houses. So we'll go to a corporate parking lot or a church parking lot and build all the walls for a Habitat home. And so sometimes when you think about someone that maybe has a call center, it's harder for them to get their employees out to where the actual Habitat house is going to be permanently, that it's easy for them to step out the office door and be able to go into the parking lot and build a Habitat, the walls for a Habitat home there. And so that's something that we started last year, and the folks that have participated so far have been really excited about it. So we've got 12 organizations that are committed to doing that this year, and we're looking for 3 more.
Yeah, no, that's great. Yeah, no, it seems like I think one of the exciting things is it seems like organizations really want to help. I mean, they want to help Habitat. They, maybe the number 1 rating of the Restore, or whatever has helped make that happen. But
yeah, well, their effort makes a difference, and it's makes a difference in a very tangible way. And I think some of that aspect of that makes it interesting and rewarding for those that come out and participate with Habitat for Humanity. And so, we welcome everyone to come out and volunteer with Habitat. And again, it doesn't matter on your skill level. So, folks of all skill levels, as long as they have a willingness to want to come out and make a difference, we'd be glad to have them
Right.
come out and help with Habitat, either on the house site, or we also need volunteers in the Restore too.
Yeah. I mean, doesn't it? Have you found that when volunteers come from a company, have you heard stories to the effect of, well, from managers or whatever, that when volunteers come back to the company, really it has helped the volunteer?
Certainly, and a lot of the companies too use it as a team building experience. So there's something about when the manager, the supervisor is there standing side by side with the employees, that builds a relationship. And we've had a couple of companies that have been very intentional about the team building with Habitat. So we'll talk to them about Habitat and what we're doing in the day before they come. And then when they come out, they've already, we break people up into smaller volunteer crews when they're working on a house on there. And they've pre-assigned the folks that need to work together back at the office. They've pre-assigned them, so if Joe from one department and Susie from another department really need to get to know each other a little better, they'll assign them to work together on the Habitat site. And so they've used it very intentionally as team building, and just that common ground that happens on making a difference together, working on a Habitat house, they can carry that back and talk about it weeks and months down the road.
No, absolutely. I think it's one of the best team building experiences that you can. It's probably better than putting together some formal program, because when you volunteer with each other, it breaks down barriers that sometimes exist in a work environment.
Yeah.
And there's a real element that when you engage in a volunteer experience, there's a lightness to the atmosphere, because people are not there to compete; they're there to help. And
I think there's something about going out and working hard together and accomplishing something together that's a good for the community, that is somehow it kind of fills the soul a little bit, and it builds a bond between people.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're out of time. I really am glad that you guys came and told us about Habitat in more detail. Again, today we've had Lance Henning. He is the director of the Greater Des Moines Habitat for Humanity, and Lane Stummy. He is the director of the Habitat Restore. thank you for joining us today.
Well, thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And next time, we are going to be talking about soil sustainability. Susan Aram from SILT, the Sustainable Iowa Land Trust, has a lot of good information for us on how we can preserve farms and the soil better. Thanks for joining us today.